There once was a man named Miguel, and he lived in a very cold house. One day, it got so cold that he decided to do something about it. And this is what happened.
I want to call that cheap landlord, see if I can get some heat up here. Hello, Mr. Jones. Yeah, Miguel, in apartment 2B? Well, not too good. It's freezing up here. Yeah, I would like for you to send up some heat. Well, it's interesting to know that 75% of your operating expenses go for heat, but it's still freezing in here. What? Mr. Jones? Hey, Mr. Jones. Well, I guess it's not my day. I'll just get some sleep. Here you go, Hector, Hector. Hector! Hey, he's not moving, wait. Hector! He froze. Hey, what the heck is going on here? Just a minute! Who's there?
Mr. Energy.
Mr. who?
Mr. Energy, I've come to help you weatherize your apartment.
Listen, Buster, is this some kind of a joke?
No, it's no joke, but that's not much of a conservation tool. I think you'd have a lot better luck with this one.
Hey, put that down.
It's only a caulking gun. May I come in?
Well, I know I must be dirty, so what the heck, come on in.
Wow, it's awfully cold in here.
Congratulations, you're about the 10th person to say that today.
Well, that may be true, but I'm the first one that's going to help you do something about it, if it's okay with you.
Sure, why not, but how are you going to help me?
Well, I'm going to help you in several ways. First of all, I'll tell you about the law and the minimum standards for heating an apartment in the city of Chicago. And believe me, this apartment sure doesn't meet those standards.
So what should I do?
Well, first of all, I'll tell you what those standards are. These standards are in force from September 15th till June 1st. From 7:30 in the morning until 8:30 in the morning, the temperature in the apartment must be at least 65 degrees. From 8:30 in the morning until 10:30 at night, it must be at least 68 degrees. And from 10:30 at night until 7:30 in the morning, it must be at least 63 degrees. You should have a thermometer to actually measure the temperature in your apartment. If it doesn't meet the standards, you should call the City of Chicago at 744-5000 and report it. They will send an inspector out to investigate, and if it doesn't meet the standards, they will issue a citation and force the landlord to raise the temperature in your apartment. But I've got some ideas that'll help you do something about your cold apartment right now. It centers around the idea of weatherization. Weatherization is keeping the cold air out and keeping the warm air in.
Great. Whatever you can do to get this place warmer, I'll appreciate it.
Good. I'll show you how to raise the temperature from 10 to 20 degrees, and the whole job will only cost less than $75, and we can do it in one day.
Let's get started.
Okay. Well, windows and doors are the areas where most of the leakage occurs. So why don't we get started right here at the front door.
Okay.
Now this may not seem like much to you, but a small opening of a 1/16 of an inch all around the door lets in a lot of cold air. You can actually feel it coming in now. If we add all the leaks around this door together, it would be the same as a hole in the door this big. Can you imagine that amount of cold air coming into your apartment?
Wow, I never suspected that.
Well, most people wouldn't. What we're going to do is weather strip the door and stop that cold air from coming in.
Sounds fine to me.
You want to get started?
Sure.
Let's go. This is self-sticking weather stripping. We've already cleaned the surface along the door jamb here where we're going to apply it. It's nice and dry, it's smooth, and it'll adhere very nicely. We'll start right up into the corner, make a nice snug fit, pressing it into place as we go along. Peeling back the cover, Just keep placing it right down the side here.
Here, let me give it a try.
Sure.
Okay.
There, it's looking good. Very nice.
Take it all the way down?
Take it all the way down to the floor, and we'll trim it at the bottom. Okay, that's looking real good.
Okay, we're finished.
All right, now let me trim it, and then we'll be done. We gotta make sure we got the full coverage there. We don't want to miss a spot. There. That's perfect.
Good.
Now that we've completed installing the wood stripping on all three sides of the door, we'll address the problem at the bottom here. We can't use weather stripping because there's nothing to attach it to. What we'll use is a door sweep. A door sweep is a strip of material with tape on it and a rubber bottom so that it'll block the air from coming in. And it'll be attached so it touches the threshold like that. Before we install it, we must measure the length to make sure it's correct. We've measured and cut the door sweep, and we've cleaned the surface so it'll stick on. Now let's finish installing it. Making sure that it's even all the way across. There we are. Now let's put a few tacks in it just to make sure it doesn't pop off of there. Now we've completed weatherizing this door. We've installed the weather stripping along the three sides of the door jamb. We've installed the floor sweep at the bottom, and the air is no longer coming in through the gap.
Sure can't feel it.
Now this took less than a half hour to complete, and it cost only about $5. The floor sweep costs about $3, and the weather stripping was about $2.
Great. Real good job. Where do we go from here?
Well, let's go to the next closest room.
How about the living room?
That's fine. Now let's start with this window here along the outside wall. You can see where it's very drafty, it's loose. There's a hole in the wood itself that's letting air in. The glass is a little loose here. What we'll do is we'll plug up these leaks and we'll cover the entire window with a plastic sheet. It'll create a cushion of air that'll keep the cold air from coming in.
I see.
Well, let's start with plugging up this hole with some wood putty right here. See this rotting wood? It lets the cold air in, and you can even see daylight coming through this crack.
Yeah, see, we have a problem there, so what do we do?
Well, we're going to fill it with wood putty, and then we're going to sand it and paint it. Okay, now let's open the windows and we'll get started.
Yeah, I'll get it for you.
Okay, now the first step is to clean out any old rotting wood that's in the gap. There's some in here. Next, we'll dust it off, make sure that the wood putty will stick. Now we'll apply the wood putty. Remember that this wood putty dries rather quickly, so we can't take too much time with it. Just press it right into the hole and smooth it back. Take a little bit more, press it up underneath. You can work with this with your fingers too.
I see.
And a little more, and I think we'll have enough.
That should keep the air from coming in.
This will do it. This will block the air, and when it's sealed, you can sand it, paint it. If it's a little rough, it's okay. In fact, if it sticks out a little bit, it's even okay, because this will shrink a little as it dries. Now we'll let this wood putty dry, then it'll be sanded and painted later. Right now there are other gaps in the window, especially this loose pane right here. Let's take care of that next. As you can see on the back side here, the putty is very loose, ready to come off. So we'll scrape that off. Comes off very easy. Scrape that off. We'll dust it off. Make sure there's no dust in there. And we'll put on some of this glazing compound. You can buy this at just about any hardware store. Normally costs less than $1 for a pound. We'll roll it into a little bead. We'll apply it with our fingers first to get it in the slot.
That looks very easy.
Yes, it's not difficult at all. Once you get it in there, that does the biggest part of the job, to block the air from coming in. Take the excess and just toss it aside. We'll smooth it out a little bit to make sure that it's nice and tight and snug, and it looks nice.
Yeah, it does look pretty good.
A little practice and you'll be a real expert in this.
I'll do the rest of the windows after we finish.
Okay, we're done with that now. Now before we install the weather stripping, let's make sure it's good and clean. We'll dust it off, make sure there's no debris on it.
Okay, I'll start up at this corner right here.
That's fine. Just take it right across.
Okay.
Press it in tight. Now the window's nice and tight. We've installed the weather stripping, we've sanded and painted the hole, and now we're going to install the plastic all around the entire window.
Okay, what do you want me to do?
First we'll measure the length and the width.
Right?
I'm going to use the chair to stand on. Make sure you hold on to the back when you get up, and always have the back against the wall so you don't trip on it.
You want to hand me the tape?
There we go. Overlap it about 3 inches on each side to make sure that we have enough to tape down.
Okay, that'll be 40 inches across.
Okay, now the length.
Now hold on to the tape.
There we go. And that's 80 inches up and down. Now, let's cut the plastic.
This is finished.
Okay, hand it up to me and then we'll start the taping.
There you go.
First thing we'll do is we'll use a little masking tape that I put around the sides of the window. 6 pieces. Just stretch it out and get it centered right. And once we have it centered, then we can put the rest of the tape on.
There we go.
Now that finishes it up. Let's cut the tape now. Watch your finger.
Okay.
Watch your finger.
Finished. Very good job.
Yeah, it looks real nice. You know, this only took us about a half hour. The cost for the materials used on this window were 50 cents for the plastic, less than $2 for the tape, less than 50 cents for the wood buddy, and only about a dime for the window glaze. This totals to about $3. Now let's take a look at the problem along the baseboard where the cold air is rushing in. Feel the cold air rushing in here.
Wow, it's really coming in. What do you suggest we do here?
Well, we'll plug up that hole with this foam rope and cover it with caulking, and then we'll put a molding on top of that.
I see.
And the foam rope is installed right along the baseboard. We'll start right here in the corner. Use a putty knife to push it in and get it just even with the baseboard. We'll just keep going right along, making sure it's not pushed back too far. The reason we use the foam rope is so that we won't have to use too much putty. The rope takes up a larger space, and then it's just sealed in. When we get to the end over here, we'll cut it. And that'll be enough for this section. Now this is a standard caulking gun with a tube of latex caulk. First we have to cut the end off. I'm going to make a fairly wide cut because we're going to need a large bead. Any kind of a sharp knife will do that. Next we must puncture the inside of the tube. Always have plenty of paper towel around. It's handy when you're working with this. We set the gun with the teeth down, and we start the process of getting the caulking material up into the nozzle.
Yeah, I see it.
Once it's up there, we place the gun at an angle and start feeding the material in. And you can go fairly quickly with it as you go across.
That looks very easy.
It's not very difficult. A little practice and you get the hang of it.
Very nice finish.
What this does is it seals the air gaps around the foam rope. All right, let's install the molding now and get that in to seal up the job. Just press it in. Put a nail at this end. It took about 20 minutes to seal 5 feet of baseboard, and it cost less than $1 for the foam rope, about 50 cents for the latex caulk, and about $5 for the wood molding, for a total cost of $6.50.
Hey, that looks great, and it didn't take very much time to learn mine.
No, that's right, and you can do the remainder of the baseboards in your apartment to stop that cold air after I leave.
Sure.
I've got some good ideas on how to get more heat out of your radiators. What do you say we take a look at the one that's over here?
Let's go.
Now this radiator cover really looks nice, but it's blocking the heat from coming out into the apartment where you want it. What we'll do is we'll remove this and we'll put a reflective shield behind it to force the heat out here. So let's get this out of here first. Easy does it. Just lift it and carry it over here. Now you'll want to put this away somewhere in the basement or somewhere else later. And we'll get back out here, take a look at what we need. Now we'll measure this up and make sure we have the right size cardboard. The shield has been made out of cardboard. And we'll need it about 32 inches that way and about 42 inches this way. You want it to extend up a little higher than the top of the radiator. Now let's get a cardboard box. Now you can pick up a cardboard box about this size at a furniture store or a grocery store. And what we'll do is we'll break it. Hold on to that and I'll get another. Now, let's hold them together and I'll tape them. We'll tape them first and then we'll cut them to size. Just need something to kind of hold it together for right now.
Now this is ready. Where do we go from here?
Okay, we've cut the cardboard and we've taped the sides. Now it's time to put the aluminum foil.
Okay.
We'll take this out of the box so it's easier to work with. Stretch it out, make sure it overlaps a little bit on the edges. This will reflect the heat away from the radiator and back out into the room. Okay, now we finished with the taping. We only have to do the front side because that's the side that's reflecting out. Let's pick it up now and put it behind the radiator.
All right.
Careful we don't tear it. Okay, now that's centered pretty well. Just bend the top forward a little. And what this does is forces the heat that's coming up off the radiator out into the room.
I see.
And that'll keep the heat reflecting out into the room. And that can be placed right there against the wall. Remember, never put any furniture in front of the radiator because that blocks the heat from coming into the room and it'll absorb the heat. And if you have radiators under windows, make sure that the drapes don't hang over the radiator. Make sure they're behind the radiator. It took about 20 minutes to make the shield, and it only cost about $1 for the foil and about 25 cents for the tape that we used. And of course, the cardboard was free. The total cost was $1.25.
Hey, I can really feel the heat now.
Yes, these radiator shields are very effective, and I think we did a real good job on this. Now let's take a look over here. I'm going to show you something I think will really surprise you. Now you wouldn't normally notice this, but there's a lot of cold air that comes in around these outlets.
Hey, you're right. Where's this air coming from?
It comes in through the outside wall, and then it looks for openings to come into the apartment. And all of these wall plates and wall switches provide access for it into the apartment, so you have to plug those up.
I see. So what do you do then?
Well, first of all, we'll take the old plate off and cover it up with this gasket right here. But let's take that off first.
Should I do this on all the walls?
Only on those outside walls. When we punch out the center portion, you can buy these little gaskets at just about any hardware store. They press right into place, a very snug fit.
And easy to install.
Easy to install, one screw.
Is that it?
That's all there is to it. Just tighten it up, and the job is done. Now test it.
Pretty good, no air.
This went very quickly. It only took about 2 minutes to do the job, and the gaskets can be bought for about $1 for a package of 10, so that's only 10 cents each. Let's sit at the table here and I can show you how we can use the sun to help heat your apartment.
How are you going to do that?
Well, it's called solar energy, and I'll show you how it applies. Solar energy helps heat your house by letting the sun's rays enter through the glass windows and get trapped inside the apartment. So the sun is always on the south side of the apartment, on the warm side. The north side of the apartment is always the cold side, and it never gets the sun shining on it, so those drapes and shades should always be pulled and closed. During the day, you should have the south side windows uncovered and let the sun come in, and then in the evening close them.
I see. So what you mean is in the morning, I should open the drapes on the south side of the apartment and close them in the evening.
That's correct.
Hey, this is really interesting, Mr. Energy. I really appreciate all the tips you have given me. Hey, where did he go? Mr. Energy, where did he go? Oh, what's that window? It's hot in here. Look at that sun. Man, is it hot in here? Boy, was that a dream. But I'll tell you one thing. I remember what that energy guy said, and tomorrow morning I'm going to start plugging up this apartment and making it a lot warmer. I'll see you folks later.